What's up, everybody? We are What the Show. How y'all doing tonight?
That we are.
I'm ready.
We are
that show.
Yeah, and we still don't quite know what this show is, but we do this every week.
Yeah.
And tonight we're going to be talking about one of Bethany's favorite subjects.
It's finally my time to shine, y'all. I didn't even have to win the Schmodown Fantasy League, and we're basically doing the episode that I wanted to if I would have won that. So we might have to do it again in, the end of the year. But I'm just saying, I'm already kind of getting my wish come true tonight. Is this my wedding gift, y'all? Oh, thank you.
You're so welcome. You ain't getting shit else.
That's totally fair. I accept it.
Well, we have our usual band of misfits here. We have the unusual band of misfits joining us. The first one, those of you who have followed What the Show might remember as somebody that Coy Jandreau said was one of the most formidable debaters he ever faced against. And that is a high compliment. Someone I've known for a very long time, somebody who is very well versed in scores and soundtracks and music in general. He's dealt with my drunk ass as the karaoke host.
All right, JTE.
Yeah, JT.
All right, so let's bring on first guest. He only needs one name, and that's Francie.
Oh,
What's
even
up,
better,
Francie?
even better. All right.
Hey, everyone.
Iron Maiden, excellent.
Yes. And
One of the greatest bands of all time.
no argument coming from me. And his podcast partner is also here tonight. Another person who I've known for a very long time. I was actually the best man in her wedding. And so we're going to bring her on, and that is Miss Emily Awesome.
All right.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, cheers.
Welcome to
Cheers,
my
indeed.
everyone. Cheers. It's a good night to talk
Cheers.
about the soundtrack.
Now, before we get into scores and soundtracks, though, Mr. Moneyplane over here has a story to share.
Yes. So I'm keeping Moneyplane as my username. That's all I'll be referred to as until the day that we do the Moneyplane watch along. However, we have something way more important than Moneyplane. By the way, if you want to bet on a man fucking an alligator, Moneyplane. But if you want to bet on what you'd find in cereal in 2021, you must look at the Twitter feed of Mr. Jensen Karp. Jensen Karp yesterday found two shrimp tails in his bag of Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Do you think he asked Johnny Utah for that? Did he go to Utah?
Give me two. Give me two.
Give me two. Two shrimp tails.
So he started tweeting out. The first tweet was at yesterday at 10:32 p.m. Sorry, 12:32 p.m. So
There's
like
gonna be a late night breakfast
lunch
there.
batch,
Oh,
good
yeah.
lunch batch of cereal. 12:32, just right after noon. CT at CTC Squares. Why are there shrimp tails in my cereals? This is not a bit. By the way, Mr. Jensen Karp is a podcaster, and I will be definitely checking out his podcast.
Oh, he's getting a lot of new
right after this.
subscriptions out of this one.
Oh, hell yeah. This motherfucker doesn't even have to do Manscaped ads anymore. He's going to be like swimming in this shit. So
you know you've made it.
So he goes on to actually have a little bit of a Twitter fun part of this. So we're so sorry to see what you found. This is from Cinnamon Toast Crunch. We would like to report this to our quality team and replace your box of cereal because you found.
He got a free. He's going to get a free box of
Animal
cereal out of
parts.
this.
Good deal. Good deal.
And it goes on from there. Seth Rogen retweeted this and said, "You win." This is where it starts to kind
The
of
Rock
pick up.
retweeted it too.
So they denied it. And I'm going to go ahead and just show you. I'm going to put up my phone to the screen. We're going to go ahead and make me the big screen right here.
Okay.
We're getting advanced.
And we're going to. We can't really see my phone screen. You know what?
We
There
have
are
failed.
cinnamon.
Yet again.
There are cinnamon toast fish shrimp tails in his hands. Okay, upon further investigation with my eyes, you will see that there are cinnamon coated shrimp tails, you weirdos. People in the comments were trying to tell him, oh, it's just like coated with sugar, and like even Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Their exact tweet was, after further investigation with our team, that closely examined image appears to be an accumulation of the cinnamon sugar that sometimes can occur when ingredients aren't thoroughly blended. We assure you that there's no possibility of cross-contamination with shrimp. Guys, it gets weirder. He goes and he is being DM'd back and forth with General Mills, the Cinnamon Toast Crunch official account, and they're saying things like, "Thank you, Jensen. We'd like to send you some General Mills vouchers for this unpleasant experience. If it's okay with you, we'll send them right away." No, you just told me it wasn't shrimp tails, he said, like a logical human being. Then they're like, "Hey, we're going to send you a FedEx box, and you can mail us those tails, and we'll get them tested in a lab." And he said, "Well, why shouldn't I just take my shrimp tail to a lab? I'm all in." He has the things buckled into the actual box, buckled into a seat in his car, and then that's when he discovers the second box, where there are black blobs that kind of look like rat shit. It has not been confirmed to be rat shit, cooked into the second box of his Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Okay.
It goes further. For real, what are those black things, though? Going on TMZ Live tomorrow. I ate a bowl of this. He mentioned he ate a bowl of this. So, comedians, Paul F. Tompkins, Jez, Seth Rogen said, "I'd cut off my mouth if I were you." And his response was, "I normally say I have no idea you have no idea of the behind-the-scenes OCD shit that I'm going through, but now I know you do." People are like tweeting him like bootleg, like crazy shit, like finding a DVD of Mordecai in your box of Cinnamon Toast Crunch, which is probably the worst thing that you could actually have. Cinnamon Toast Crunch, after all of that we've experienced just so far, there's more. There's more. The Cinnamon Toast Crunch statement, after what we've experienced so far. While we're investigating this matter, we can say with confidence that it did not occur at our facility. We are waiting for the consumer to send us this package to investigate further. Any consumers who notice their cereal box or bag has been tampered with, such as clear tape that was found in this case, should contact us at, and I'm putting this number, we might put it on a banner. Actually, Juice, can you put this number on a banner? 1-800-1800
Put on banner.
328-1144. Anybody who can show me a call log with a call to this number, 1-800-328-1144. DM me on Twitter at Lancaster_AJ, and I will donate $1 additional to our fundraising for Texas Relief Charities. If you can DM me that you called them,
It's a couple of
I'm going to donate to charity. So Buckle's in the thing. He's taken to the lab. Lab results are not back in. And now we're at this thing. We're at a bypass. We're waiting for the lab results. This is my favorite fucking thing to happen in the news segments for like just what the fuck is going to happen next since the OJ trial. Because you know what happens next?
Does someone murder their wife?
Oh, man.
No, nobody murdered anybody's wife. But do you know who Jensen Karp's wife is?
No.
Danielle Fishel. That is Topanga from Boy Meets World is
Yeah.
married to the man
Oh man.
Okay.
who received 2 fishtails and possibly rat feces in a family pack double box
Ooh.
of Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Ladies and gentlemen, this is why I had nothing productive to do at work today.
It's all Topanga's fault, is what you're saying, basically.
What was that? Sorry?
I said it's all Topanga's fault. That's basically what you're saying.
No. She was the little cinnamon toast topping on the dessert that was this saga.
Didn't she find out that the bag was taped together?
There's nothing definitive that the bag was taped together.
Interesting.
See, I
There's
feel
lots of
like Cinnamon Toast
investigation
Crunch
going on.
played this all wrong. They should have like tried to say, "Oh no, it's just our new flavor." You know, shrimp and
Shrimp.
cinnamon. The kids will love it. You know, like a new ramen package or something.
It's our new flavor, anaphylaxis.
So
You're allergic.
here's what actually happened: is that there like restaurants reopened in the like right next to the General Mills headquarters, and there's a Benihana's like right across the street, right? So you're just like they're flipping into your mouth, shit gets crazy. Next thing you know, ends up in the box of somebody's cereal.
I need to do this to my reaction to this whole bit. That's all I have to say.
And we have a gift now, I think.
That's fantastic. 10 out of 10. Does anyone know how to gift? Make me a gift of that because I want one.
So
I will use that and only that to respond to everything. If someone can make me a gift out of it, please and thank you. I'd be really, really appreciative.
We'll make it.
by the way, I think that this is our first ever successful cold open that didn't devolve into just
Successful.
losing the bit.
It was such a fascinating story. We were all sucked in, you know? Like,
Please follow Jensen Karp on Twitter if you haven't yet. It will be very, very easy to find him.
I just really want to know, like, did the rest of the Boy Meets World family get involved? And Mr. Feeney, like, yell at Cinnamon Toast Crunch? You know, like, these are the dying questions I personally have.
Right? Well, I mean, if anything, you'd figure that the guy who played Sean Hunter would be the one eating like cereal for lunch.
oh.
Have
Sorry.
cereal for dinner. It's great.
All respect
Cabin
to you,
fever is just-
Hunter.
We've all got cabin fever, actually. I'm sorry, Sean Hunter. So we're going to be talking scores and soundtracks this evening.
Ah,
Good segue.
Ah,
okay.
Anyway, before
Seamless.
though, don't forget AJ to pin
You pin that goddamn tweet.
that content.
Yeah, we'll get to it. I'm going to take my place now at the bottom of the screen and
Remind everyone what all Streamlab donations are going to for the next 2 weeks. Count them to Utah of March. Here will be, of course, to hashtag Texas Forever, hashtag Clear Eyes So Hearts Can't Lose. And as, of course, Texas Relief, we are pooling all of the money that we get over the month of March and donating them to different little charities that are helping aid the great state of Texas. Everything's bigger there, they tell me, to basically including hopefully your donations to charity. Just kidding, I'm not John Roca. Is that the third burn I've gotten on him in donations? I'm not sure. I'm not counting,
don't
but I
worry,
think
we
that
can
means
still
my third
burn John Roca yet tonight. But scores and soundtracks, let us know your
Speaking of burning
favorites.
people, Jeff Walterman's in the chat.
I don't want to burn Jeff. I like Jeff. He's a good person. Jeff, I do not condone this action. And you notice that the Jeff hatred started after I left the stream last week.
It's
And
Jeff Love. It's Jeff Love.
I don't want what the show to speak on behalf of everyone.
We speak on behalf
By
of
the way,
all.
And
that
I don't think
that
you're
800 number, by the way, I just want to remind everybody that 800 number, I will be actually donating that extra $1. And every single Streamlabs donation that we get to those Texas charities, up to the next $100, I'm going to be matching out of my own pocket. So if you want to mention anything about your favorite streams and soundtracks and you want to benefit charity, I will be spending as much money as you will. So,
do we have anything set up for April yet? Because if not, anyone who's got a good charity out there, comment, maybe send us a Streamlab about, toward this month, and then let us know what you would possibly be interested in seeing all the April donations go to. We'd love to know. We're here to help.
As long as they don't go to Jeff.
That'd be sad, Jeff. I'm sorry.
Jeff,
But also,
we're going to do something for you in the future. So,
scores and soundtracks. Let's just dive on in to the world's greatest topic. Sadly, David W. Collins was not free this evening to come chat with us here about scores and soundtracks. But I'm sure one day we'll get him on the show.
So you got us. Sorry, guys.
I mean, I think that's a very, very equally as good of a guest. And that's saying something because I have hardcore. Yeah. Why did we have to call out Ryder Strong like that? That wasn't very nice. He's a very nice person. I'm sure the entire
Cabin
cast
Fever.
in this world is great. Why? Okay, well, we're putting on Mortal Kombat, so I gotta dance. Did Mike mostly agree to this topic so he could talk about Mortal Kombat again? Okay, all right, that's enough. That's enough of that. That's enough.
Never enough.
we lost 4 viewers.
I think we gained 4 viewers.
AJ, I think we need to check our Streamlabs. Someone in the chat is saying
Someone
that.
in the chat says we need to.
What? I don't even know what we're doing here. So we have a $25 Streamlab donation from Jeff Alterby.
Thank you, Jeff. We
Saying,
salute
look
you.
at these fucks. It's not about looking. It's about hearing. Because it's about scores and soundtracks.
And I just played the greatest soundtrack of all time.
Can you
We
tell
beat
me?
Durley.
Okay, that's one track. So soundtrack,
The
yes.
song
Now,
is
now,
good.
now bring my Mortal Kombat history ignorance to light here. So, was that theme specifically made for the movie, or was
The
that
techno
theme in the
version.
game?
That's the theme from the arcade games. They made it like a super techno version.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
a techno group made that theme, and then it was adopted into the film. So
Okay.
it was not designed specifically for the film.
Right.
Right.
And this is the kind of
Right.
in-depth film analysis that we have only for Mortal Kombat on this channel.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
We do talk
This
about
is
more.
like- Yeah, this is like put the sunglasses back on kind of.
Yeah.
a moment.
Yeah. April
Emily,
16th,
Francie, talk about
will be
anything else.
Dissecting the
Just
latest
anything
series.
else.
Anything else?
I'm having a technical issue. I'll be right back.
Yep.
Okay, well, actually, something that you probably don't know, Mike, is that I actually worked on a film score. The project was never completed, so the movie's not out there. There was a whole slew of problems that I won't go into, but it was
Snyder
filming
cut.
related. But I wrote
What
something
is the
like,
Snyder cut?
Haircut.
There we go.
Haircut.
but yeah, I wrote about 20 minutes of material for it. So I actually have worked on a film score before, even though the project didn't get finished. And it's something else. And I actually know a couple of film score composers too, and I've spoken with them on the subject.
Right.
So I probably won't have as much to say about the soundtrack side of things.
Right.
Ooh, me.
But when it comes
I
to
will.
film score, I know quite a bit. Yeah, Em is going to be our guru for soundtracks.
Well, I feel
So
like
I actually looked up. Oh, sorry. I was going to say I actually looked up because I was curious. Okay, what is the actual definition between a score and a soundtrack?
Right.
And I actually have it. So a score is a specific musical piece or incidental music that accompanies a scene or a moment in the film. And then a soundtrack is the compilation of songs and sounds that comprise all of the film's music. So there you go.
Nice.
Okay.
So
Okay.
if it's written specifically for the movie, it goes for the score. If it's just a piece of art pulled into the movie, it's soundtrack.
Well, if it's recorded specifically for the film, it's film score, because it doesn't have to necessarily be original work. Like, for instance, The Shining. There's music in that movie that isn't technically original. It's it had been, or Clockwork Orange, where like this is music that already existed, but it was re-recorded for the film.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
We have
And there's scoring a scene, that kind of thing, and there's also when they remix an original song so that it's the original for the score or the soundtrack. There's a lot of I really don't know.
Nuance
So-
to the definitions.
Could anyone can anyone tell me here if their favorite composer isn't John Williams? And then can I tell you why you're wrong? No, I'm just kidding. No, can we? I mean, I feel like that's kind of the obvious answer, but just because it's the obvious answer doesn't mean that it's a bad. Just because it's popular doesn't mean it's bad. But I mean, he's called the maestro for a reason. So I will throw my ring in the hat first and say that he is obviously my favorite film composer of all time. But I am just curious because some people, again, have wrong opinions. No, I'm just kidding, of course. Some people have other opinions that are equally as valid. Who everyone, while we're talking scores and soundtracks, who is everyone's favorite composer here tonight? Obviously, like I said, I've thrown my man into the ring, the obvious choice. But there's obviously a lot of other really good film composers out there, and I'm dying to know if anyone else has someone else that they like more.
Well, if you're looking at this purely from film, sure, I'll say John Williams. But you're talking as a person and their impact on everything else, I'm going to say Trent Reznor.
I had a feeling
So-
you were going to
Fair.
No, I can see that legitimately, like with his work over the past, especially the past 15, 20 years as a film score composer, he's
I mean,
done
he
great
is a
stuff.
really good composer. That's not
His
bad
record's
answer.
pretty close to immaculate, honestly.
Well, and he's getting better and better too.
Yeah. That score for Soul was really good.
Yeah, when I found out he scored Soul, I was
That was. I mean,
My
I feel
mind
like-
is blown. I didn't know that. That's fantastic.
yeah. So my favorite composer is because of one theme and one theme only, and that's the original Terminator theme.
Brad Friedel.
Ooh,
Okay,
yeah.
that's some hardcore
My-
love for original Terminator.
That one score
Huh.
is so.
That
It's
is a
funny.
pretty good.
Don't.
So
That's a
it's
great
funny
one.
you bring that up. My daughter VHS, whenever we're trying to get her to take her bottle, we'll actually sing the Terminator score for her as it's coming in, like dun 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 dun
That's amazing.
dun 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 dun. It totally works most of the time.
It's amazing.
Most of the time, it works all the time.
Yeah, that.
60% of the time.
So Emily, who would you say is your favorite composer?
Oh man, favorite. That's a hard one. I think probably I have a big list, obviously. If I'm gonna go with my favorite, probably Michael Giacchino, who did
Yes.
Up
He's great.
and Planet of the Apes, and he's a newer composer.
Yeah, he's done a
That
bunch of the
honestly-
Marvel movies
Yeah, I didn't like. I think what got me
and
obviously was
Rogue One.
Yeah, he did
Yeah.
Rogue One.
Did
Correct.
do Rogue One.
Mhm.
He's
So-
he has done a Star Wars.
he's fantastic. I'd like to continue to see what he's gonna do. And he's just someone I can listen to over and over and over again and just find. He's so versatile as well. He's got all different styles. He can kind of do anything. I mean, everybody remembers that scene from Up. I don't even have to say what scene it is. Y'all know.
Yeah,
That is probably one of his more. I've been a Giacchino fan actually since Lost, and I still think that's some of his best work. And of course, he's gone more into movies, and movies is more where I feel like score gets a little bit more recognized. But I still think Lost is some of his best work, and I will listen to that soundtrack to this day. Also, Super 8, I think, is fantastic. That's a gorgeous score. I have that soundtrack.
Yeah, the score was
And I
probably the
pulled
best
up
part about that
Sometimes
movie.
Feel Feels.
In the Giacchino, J.J. Abrams vein, I was actually, when you said, so John Williams is easily my favorite, but
That's the easy and obvious answer.
yeah,
And the correct answer.
So I had, so for me, it was between Giacchino and one other. I'm forgetting. I just had it pulled up, but Giacchino,
Was it James
for
Horner?
me, no.
Danny
It could be,
Elfman? Was it
maybe.
Danny Elfman?
I mean, maybe.
Alan Silvestri.
I think Danny Elfman was my other one.
Alexander
But,
Desplat.
it could have been.
Except for
They're all everyone's. But anyway,
Yeah.
so
You don't call Von Damme.
my favorite Giacchino piece is Star Trek 2009.
Oh,
Yeah, that's
a
good.
call.
That is
From
good
that.
stuff.
And so like that is one of my that's in my top 10 movies of all time.
See, that actually kind of rubbed me the wrong way because it reminded me so much of Elliot Goldenthal's theme from Batman Forever.
Ooh.
That do. I was like, is this just recycled Batman Forever music? And it turned out it wasn't. It was
Okay.
just this astonishing coincidence.
But what if Star Trek 09 was directed by Joel Schumacher?
No.
Oh,
Way more nipples would have
Yeah, way more
Kirk
nipples.
nipples.
way more nipples.
If you trade Batman Forever and Star Trek 09 for their directors, I think you end up with two way better movies.
You know, that could very well be.
We'll never
I
know.
have no supporting arguments.
Now,
But we're all thinking about it. We're all
Yeah,
thinking
we're
about it.
And,
all
like-
thinking about it.
Trying to assemble it in my mind, my mind's ear.
Does anyone have after John Williams? Ennio.
I mean, that's also
Martin
really.
Scorsese.
Oh yes.
Yeah, I mean,
Those are some of the best.
Williams really is the best. I mean, there's just even objectively, I feel fair in saying that. I know it's music and it's supposed to be subjective, but just it's not just in terms of iconic themes. It's the way
volume.
the music sort of guides you through the scenes and just what he does. Like the perfect example that I love explaining is from Empire Strikes Back when Luke is talking to Yoda, and Yoda is just sort of like all his life while he looked away, never his mind on where he was. And when he pokes Luke like that, the music actually stops for a second as Mark Hamill's face just kind of snaps back to look at the puppet again. And then the music slowly comes back in. It's this wonderful little thing that's just sort of calling attention to what's happening in the scene. And Williams does it all over the place. It's absolutely amazing. But I do want to give some honorable mentions to James Horner, who I like. His music doesn't fit
Gone
the
too
scenes in the same way that Williams does. Like, it doesn't guide you through. But like the music stands on its own better, if that makes any sense. Like you can just listen to the music and it sounds like a complete work by itself. And I also want to give a shout out to Bernard Herrmann. It's just glorious and some of the best film scores ever. Like Psycho, God, yeah, it's just amazing.
Yeah, that is pretty.
So
I talk about Taxi Driver all the time.
I did double check this to make sure because I thought I had the fact, but I just need to double check it before I just said it out loud. Do you know what the last James Horner credited score was?
Off the top of my
I
head,
feel
no.
like
No,
you
it's
had
not
this
my
on
head,
a
no.
trivia, Francie. You had this
Wasn't
on a
Avatar,
trivia.
was
Did
it?
you do Man of Steel?
No, I
Lost?
think that was Hans Zimmer.
That was
Yeah.
Zimmer.
Yeah, Christopher Nolan, their little circle jerk. Anyways,
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah. I remember
Yeah.
the rules.
Christopher Nolan.
if you're watching this live with us,
Popcorn
please
Man.
remember to take a drink if we mention Christopher Nolan working in a movie theater or video store, or just if you feel like it.
I think we
Last
took
credited
Or
score-
cocaine.
Me mentioning
Or-
No,
Taxi
we're not going down the
Driver.
rabbit hole again.
Last
You
Yeah,
credited
as you can tell, I
Taxi
just felt like it a
Drivers.
lot.
Have you
Last-
ever wondered what Jeff Alterman would
last-
look like if he did a lot of cocaine?
No, I haven't. Back
Last
on topic.
accredited score
not
for
a
James
time
Horner
Talk about the thing I want to talk about.
was Magnificent Seven.
Derailing it.
Oh, the new,
Oh.
obviously the new one.
He passed in 2015,
Oh,
and 2016
Oh.
Magnificent Seven was released. So that's his
Oh.
last ever score, and I love that score. Why Christopher Nolan? It's because they keep on delaying Tenet. It's because he keeps on pushing for Tenet to be released in theaters, and they just keep on delaying it, and they're never going to release that movie. So that's why we keep on doing that because he's a failing champion of cinema.
I just literally thought of this question off the top of my head, but I was just thinking of that and talking about how certain composers do, just how like Williams does in fitting things to a movie and whatnot. And how certain people, you just like the sound of their music and can listen to it on its own. But here's another food for thought question, and it might take everyone a minute to come up with an answer, but I am curious because I just thought of mine. Like, what's a movie that you didn't like, but you were like, damn, the score is really good? Because mine is The Joker. I really did not like that movie, but I 100% was like, if she does not win the Academy Award for that, like, for like score, like I like will riot, because I just thought that the score was fantastic. So is there any movie that you're like, God, I can't stand this movie, but like that was a fantastic score, and like they definitely deserve all the
from Juice to Francie to Emily to me.
Apparently, for me, it's Batman Forever. Apparently, the same score as Star Trek. So that's all I got. But
Francie?
For me, it's The Red Violin. That is one of the most boring movies I've ever seen, but the music is astounding.
All right, that's a fair one. I like that both. I've never seen it. Now I'm intrigued. Not by
honestly,
the movie, but this
just listen to the soundtrack. Don't even watch the movie.
The soundtrack. Yeah, I would save myself the pain of the movie. AJ,
the
what's your
really boring?
Sorry, Emily, what was yours? I didn't catch it.
Well, it's for me for a score. It's hard. I could probably I guess technically because it's incidental music, it does count as a score. It does count as. I read the definition. There was this terrible crap B movie called Cave Girl, and it introduced me to SSQ, which is Stacey Q's band. She did Two of Hearts. Anyway, I was in the movie. This guy goes back in time and meets this sexy cave girl and shows her a Walkman, and that's the music that he plays for her. And I was like, this movie is garbage, but what is this band? And I went down a rabbit hole and like bought the album, and like not the Cave Girl album, that doesn't exist. But anyway, so that would be, I guess, mine. I can't really think of any other like traditional scores, and I guess that doesn't really count, but that would be it. Cave Girl and SSQ.
Soundtrack, I'm gonna have a hot pick for this later, but for score, it's definitely going to be the Ang Lee Pride and Prejudice.
Oh yeah. Dario Marianelli did the soundtrack for that, and I actually bought that soundtrack because it was so good.
Beautiful.
It's gorgeous. But yeah, everyone should buy that.
Fucking just can't do it. I can't do Pride and Prejudice. I can't do
just that version or any
Jane
version?
Austen.
Any Jane Austen. That movie had just come out.
I love
that movie had just come out, and I was doing this. It was like an elective novels course for my senior year of high school, and it was on the like just a whole course list of things that they didn't teach us in that school, and they graded us on our journals. So for my journal and my report on Pride and Prejudice, I reviewed the jacket of the book, the trailer for the movie.
Why am I not?
And the jacket of the DVD cover, and I wrote 30 pages as was required.
There you go.
I've gone through some really boring cinema and some really boring film. For some reason, like Jane Austen just never did it for me with her stories, and even when there were things that you could consider more dry, like less accessible, I mean,
she's a master at what she did, but she's not for everyone, you know?
Yeah.
And it just kind of is what it is.
Different strokes for different folks.
But
exactly.
I have written at least 15 notebook pages on the jacket of the DVD for Pride and Prejudice.
I want to know what your final grade was on this.
I would like a
I didn't have to grade it. I got a D minus, and
I thought you were going to say a D minor.
You got like a
I played a
66.
chord.
That's
And then
awesome.
I got a D minor. Oh man, that would have been funny. What's your
Man, actually, like I want to give a shout out to because this movie's not bad, but people think it is, and it's got like a super underrated film score, The Shadow,
Yes.
1994.
Ooh.
Yes.
That film score is amazing, and the movie's really good too. It's just that no one got that it was a joke. They took it seriously when it wasn't supposed to be, but it's considered bad.
That's on HBO Max right
Yes,
now,
it
I
is.
believe. And I just
Yes, it
added it
is.
because in the Schmodown, that's one of the movies that's on the Inner Geekdom list, and I just added all of those movies to my own personal watch list, and
It is
that's
a
coming
top-
up. So I'm going to be watching that in the next few weeks.
It's a
Awesome.
top 5 Alec Baldwin role.
Yeah, I'm gonna like be paying attention to the score. That's gonna be great. So I'll have a review of that.
Oh yeah, well if you want to, at the risk of imposing and sort of self-plugging here, Em and I are going to be doing a discussion on that on Set the Scene in a couple of weeks.
Nice.
Can I come?
On The Shadow.
Where'd Roxy come from?
I personally haven't seen it yet either, so I can't comment about any of that yet. But
I'm
Your
just
you will.
sad
experience.
that Juice is gonna have seen The Shadow before he's seen the Mighty Ducks trilogy. Also,
Oh my
a great
God.
That's
sound.
true. That's true.
It's not that
I mean,
great.
but
The
that's-
main
Amazing
theme-
score.
The main theme is good. I'm into it.
Yeah, the two Mortal Kombats.
If you haven't
that's
taken
a
it-
debate, we'll get there. But
If you haven't taken a drink, by the way, there's this one,
Christopher.
and there's this one. And that's why not.
oh,
You know,
it
while
counts
we're,
for-
while we're
oh.
speaking, He Who Must Not Be Named, let's go ahead and talk about one of his go-to collaborators, which is Hans Zimmer.
yeah,
A very, I feel like, love it or hate it composer. Some people are really into the big, loud noises, and some people aren't. And I feel like I lean a little bit more towards hate it, but I do.
You
feel
said that
like
so thoughtfully.
there are certain things that he has done that I don't think. I mean, obviously he's a very successful film composer for a reason. Like he's not like terrible or anything. But
Well, The Lion King was great.
yeah.
I love.
I do think that there are certain he definitely has some good ones, and then I just feel like he has some misses, which I guess everyone does. But yeah, I don't know. He's gotten a little samey for me recently. But on the flip side of that, I feel like Danny Elfman, I used to never really like, and I was like, everything sounds the same.
Oh,
And then I listened to last October, the Soundtrack Show did a deep dive into Danny Elfman, because again, we all think spooky season, we think Elfman. And I actually like really appreciate him as a composer now. And I actually think that him and Tim Burton's kind of director-composer relationship is really fascinating.
His early stuff too, like
Yeah.
especially.
Boingo, boingo.
I was about to bring that up actually. Like I discovered Oingo Boingo last year. I am like the saddest person ever that I hadn't discovered that before. Like I knew Danny Elfman, but I didn't know
Right.
Oingo Boingo.
But in
Which-
yeah.
That was the
He's
entire
fascinating.
soundtrack to Weird Science was.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know the entire, but at least the main theme was Oingo Boingo, and it's like,
No,
wow,
I
this
think
guy
it
is
was
really good.
They
What
did
happened?
a lot.
Yeah.
It-
Well, I mean, you look at like Batman Returns is actually like one of the best film scores I've ever heard. Love that movie or hate it, like you gotta check out that film score because that movie is almost wall to wall music.
I hate it. I hate that
It's fair enough, but the music, and the way that it's used is so good. It's in almost every single scene, with a few exceptions, and it's like operatic. Like he does this thing that actually goes back to opera terminology called a leitmotif. And don't let that scare you. It's just a fancy word for a theme song. But like Catwoman had a theme song in that movie. She had a leitmotif, and they was used like sort of when she was around, and it would sort of dance around the melodies of like the Batman theme whenever the two of them were on screen together. And it was brilliantly done. And just seeing the melodies play with each other while the characters play with each other on screen was just phenomenal. And it was beautiful the way that it was done. Like when the Penguin dies, Then they do that like pathetic villain
Yep.
film score thing. It's just beautiful. It's so great.
I bet. Yeah. Elfman is one of the best.
Yeah.
Like I'm not a big Batman Returns fan, but like, yeah, I watched it once and just
But
didn't know where
speaking
I
of
was
things we didn't like, I didn't say my score that I thought was good in the movie shit, and that movie is the third highest grossing film ever, I think. Fourth, I don't know. Fucking Titanic is a fucking
Don't-
pretentious
Fourth.
piece of
Don't you
Wait,
dare!
no. I hate
Zero
music.
coming in
Love
the heart will go on.
It's off. We're not doing it. How
You can go with the rest
We
of it,
have
but just
one
don't come
viewer.
for My Heart Will Go On.
That's Titanic.
Guys, everybody, we have one viewer right now, and I am watching this on my phone.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and take a restroom break. Go and bitch about Titanic.
Well, I mean, one thing I will say about the
Titanic
movie,
will
like the
bring
love story is
viewers.
cheesy as all hell, but the action sequences are spectacular.
Well, yeah, but I don't know.
Everything about that movie is pure gold. On second thought, because we're getting to do this now, no, I'm just kidding, because I'll probably want to do something more with scores and soundtracks. But if I win the Showdown Fantasy League this year, which I'm not going to, I'm going to make you all do a watch along to Titanic.
Why would you do that to
And
me?
watch it
I'm
together
down,
and
I'm
it's
down, I'm
gonna
down.
be
No,
delightful.
you can do that, but you have to like make sure that everybody gets the 2 VHS copy that's at the Goodwill right now, and they have to watch it. So they have to find a VCR.
The problem is you would always forget to rewind the second tape, and then you'd be like right there in it. And Mr. Andrews is like, "I assure you, sir, this boat will sing." And it would cut to black, and you'd go to put on the second tape, and you're like, "Shit, I have to rewind this," and then you have to like wait 2 minutes, and it was so frustrating.
She's
And
made
I
of iron.
would sing because I've seen it, but you know,
The,
so it got
the reason I know that the Titanic was an important movie is because like my mom is the most like stingiest person with money that I've ever met because or my grandpa is, and then my mom is her offspring. And that was like, she's like, I've only ever, I told her I saw like Amazing Spider-Man or some garbage movie like that, like twice in theaters. And she's like, you saw a movie twice in theaters? Are you kidding me? The only movie I ever saw twice in theaters was Titanic. I saw it 3 times. And I'm like,
worth it, worth every penny.
What?
My mom's a smart
What?
lady.
but yeah, going back, it's like, of course, at that
But you're
time.
right. That does have a great
Yeah.
soundtrack.
My
It
Heart
does.
Will Go On.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
does.
It's a fantastic
The story
song.
is actually really quite fantastic. And
It's not as
Celine
good as-
Dion. What a belter. What a hit.
So I actually had a question for the panel that I wanted.
So
This
let's
actually,
talk about Titanic.
you missed it. It sank already.
Yeah, it's saying
gone.
Well, that ship has
It's
sank.
It's gone. It's gone.
Spoiler
That
alert.
ship's
Spoiler
sailed,
alert.
sailed,
But-
Whatever, everyone, for a
I-
historical event and a movie that came out like 20 some odd years ago. But yes, Emily, your question.
Oh, I actually had a question, which ties into this. So what is more annoying? A song that is released for a film that you could only get on the soundtrack, or
I can relate to
a,
that.
or a song that appears in the film that is either not on the soundtrack or is altered on the soundtrack. Like it's not the same. And I have very specific things in mind, but
Altered
what
on the
is more
soundtrack,
For me, it's the
I think, is
altered
more
one,
annoying.
for sure. That's so annoying. It's like, why can't I get the one that's in the movie?
Right.
Why
Yeah.
change it? And then, because then you can't get it anywhere except by watching the movie. And
Yeah.
sometimes you just want to listen to the song. Yeah, for me, that's what it is by a long shot.
I'm going to say the latter of those two because I am willing. I have in the past bought, I mean, now it's a little bit different because of like streaming services and stuff, you know, like everything's just there on Apple Music. But back in the day when you had to like buy actual physical copies of things and stuff, I definitely would buy soundtracks like for one song. I'm pretty sure we bought the Titanic soundtrack actually like for the Celine Dion song and then inevitably like enjoyed the rest of the Titanic, which the rest of it's just score. But I mean, great score. But at the time when I was like a 7-year-old girl, I was like, I want to hear Celine. And we bought the whole soundtrack. But yeah, if I can't get a certain song, or I was thinking, thank God I was not alive in 1985 because the Back to the Future soundtrack would have driven me crazy because I love that score. And they definitely were trying to sell more of the pop hits, which like
Wasn't
no
available
offense to
until really
Huey
recently.
Lewis. but you basically got an altered, abridged version of like a piece of the score on one track, and that was it. The rest of it was like the pop hits, like the soundtrack part or whatever. And only recently did they actually put out the full score of the movie.
What's for the anniversary?
So thank God I was not like around and kicking in '85, because I would have been like, I would like to listen to more Silvestri. And they would have been like, go sit down, Bethany. Like, listen to Huey Lewis in the news. And I've been like, oh, that's fine too, I guess. You know, like, he's great.
So I have a weird loophole in this, and it's a song that was featured heavily in the movie that wasn't in the official soundtrack. And that's that "You Were Meant for Me" by Jewel was not on the official Twister soundtrack.
What? I heard that you did want to discuss Twister.
That was a good soundtrack.
Twister has the greatest soundtrack of all time. But "You Were Meant for Me" by Jewel was not on that soundtrack. Like, soundtrack album. But
I want to know, please give me a deep dive into why Twister has the greatest film soundtrack of all time.
so there's that song. There's
But it's not
song-
featured on the soundtrack.
It's not featured on the soundtrack, no.
Wow, that is a bummer.
But
But it's in the movie.
so I'm gonna pull up the soundtrack listing. Before I mention it, there's one song that is one of my favorite hard rock songs, like hardest rocking songs ever written by one of the softest rocking bands ever to exist. And that's
Okay.
"Long Way Down" by the Goo Goo Dolls. That track goes so hard, but the Goo Goo Dolls are so soft, and it's perfect.
Whoa,
I
man,
just
I gotta tell you, like, have you heard the Freddy's Dead soundtrack? Because that's got a ton of Goo Goo Dolls on it, and it's like the other guys singing songs too, because there were.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a great soundtrack. So yeah,
And-
they can rock. They can rock.
Well, and they were like a
Get
thrash
down, okay?
band.
It's not
They were
all
like a
City
thrash,
Rainbows.
thrash metal band before they did stuff like, you know, Goo Goo
Make
Dolls
money.
that we know.
Yeah.
But
I don't want the world to see me. But I don't think
before they let the world see them,
Having
They did
karaoke
thrash
flashbacks.
I know, me too. Me too.
It's giving me a headache.
some
Oh, that
highlights.
should be a
of-
new rule. Anytime anybody mentions karaoke, Francie and I get to drink.
Yeah.
So, some highlights of the Twister soundtrack: "Human Being" by Van Halen, "Virtual Reality" Rusted Root, Tallulah, Tori Amos, "Moments Like This," Alison Krauss and Union Station. Fucking love that song. "Miss This," Soul Asylum, "Broken" by Belly. That's an underrated song in general.
Belly's the underrated band.
I feel like
Yes.
a lot of this just is like, oh yeah, Twister came out in the '90s.
"Melancholy Maniacs," Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Oh,
But,
yeah,
like-
that's great. Yeah.
Like the entire soundtrack is insane.
Well, I think one of the things with soundtracks is, especially in that period of time, is they were definitely vehicles to try to promote the albums that were coming out by bands. And a lot of times, and you don't see this so much anymore, except for maybe like Guardians of the Galaxy, which I know you guys talked about on one of the previous shows. But sometimes movies and films are created to basically promote
100%.
a soundtrack, like Empire Records. Francie and I have discussed this before, but and that the soundtracks would do really well, but maybe
Dracula
didn't.
2000.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Listen, they
Yeah.
have Cyndi Lauper to do the Goonies, okay? Like they were trying to hawk records.
I never actually
Absolutely,
watched
absolutely.
Dracula 2000.
The Big
I watched that
Chill.
soundtrack.
Oh, absolutely.
Cyndi
Yeah.
Lauper songs the bop, though, like all of them.
Ooh, underrated score and soundtrack that I just thought of, and I didn't even study before this. Probably a no-known composer. The fucking Replacements.
They're good.
The Replacements.
That, you know, I can't really say.
Were you watching TBS earlier?
Yeah, were you watching TBS today? And it came
No,
Right after Boy Meets World. It came out.
like the Replacements and Hardball with Keanu Reeves. Like those are both movies that like the scores contributed to the overall feel, and then there was great soundtrack moments that accentuated it. Like,
I'm really
just
trying to think of like what the replacement sounds like right now, and I can't. For as many times as I've seen it on TBS, I can't really think of it.
How many movies does
Ziploc
Rock and Roll by
Bag
Gary
by
Glitterman?
States.
Rock and Roll Part 2 by Gary Glitterman played in. That's the only thing
Probably
I-
about as many as what is that? Like Fortunate Son or whatever, or like CCR and any like Vietnam era movie. Probably. Oh
Ooh.
yeah.
Oh.
Probably. Oh, I
Or
think
Gimme
I think
Shelter.
I know what you're
That's
going
the
to
other
talk
one.
about, and this goes to movies I have not even fully finished watching, but think has one of the greatest movie soundtracks.
Greatest
of all
movie
time.
soundtrack of all time, right here, the 1986 Transformers animated movie.
Air is one of my favorite songs ever.
I have strong love for that soundtrack. Strong. I
Good
literally
touch.
have never seen the entire movie, but
you
I
got the touch.
Never heard of that song.
You got the power.
What are Transformers?
Oh,
I'm
it's those
kidding.
things that are on telephone poles.
Oh,
Damn
That-
there's
Decepticons.
gonna be a few. There's gonna be a few
86
gifts.
soundtrack is the greatest things ever.
listen. That soundtrack literally embodies what the '80s was in one soundtrack, and it is fantastic. I'm like 10 out of 10.
What?
There's this amazing fan-made music video to Dare. And
Yeah.
it is the most amazing thing you've ever seen. It's just this guy in a Canadian tuxedo, like just running around with his long hair blowing in the wind, and that's it. And it's not even slow motion. He didn't even have the budget to do that. Like, he's just running around, hair blowing in the wind, like. And he just keeps running. You got to check it out. It's amazing.
It also has
So-
Dare to Be Stupid by Weird Al on it.
Yeah.
I mean, any soundtrack with Weird Al is
Is
immediately better than
obviously-
anything without Weird Al.
Oh, UHF, talk about a movie with a great soundtrack.
Yeah.
Well,
Yes.
That's
Just watched it for my
you
first
just have
time,
to talk about a
like,
great
a
movie.
week
Right?
ago.
You know, right there, we get to stop right there. And
Yeah, okay, well, I'll give you good movie. I don't know if we're going into the realm of great movie.
it had real
It's a
effects.
movie.
Yeah, but
Did you just say it's a movie? Because that's
Yes.
true. That's accurate. Yes.
It is a
I
film.
wanted
It's all
to
right.
state a fact.
I like it.
it's a movie. It exists.
It's a
out there,
movie
so.
with great
Well,
scenes.
if we're gonna talk 80s
that has other
soundtracks, you can't go wrong with the Breakfast Club. Like
Right.
that soundtrack
Oh,
is
yeah.
killer.
I'm kind of sick of it just because
At some
like,
point.
it's been overused so much in the past decade where like
Ah.
everyone's like the 80s it was the greatest movie and like the Breakfast Club is the best movie ever, and I'm like why is everybody saying that all of a sudden? Like it's a good movie, but like and just so and like if I hear that song one
I'm
more
not
time
talking-
I'm gonna I don't know, hack my finger off or something.
That song
Okay.
is great, but if you actually have the soundtrack, which I own, I'm holding it like a CD because that's what I have it on. It's great. There's some great stuff on there. E.G.
There
Daly's
is,
got an
yeah.
amazing song. Like there's some, and they also have some score pieces from the film as well, like plugged in there that really just like. And the thing that makes a great soundtrack, I think, is that you can be transported back to those scenes in the movie, but at the same time, a great soundtrack will also allow you to be able to experience the songs on your own and be able to like create your own connotations to it. So like, yeah, I can hear, Dancing in the Moonlight by, Wang Chung. And
Yeah.
I imagine the dance scene, but I also can imagine myself cleaning my house and Swiffering and like doing
And
things.
you have freedom of interpretation and create something really awesome and beautiful and a bigger world through the soundtrack. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I think
Um,
I think that is something that we don't see anymore in film really. Again, except for maybe there obviously are. And somebody in the chat just mentioned Lost Boys because that was going to be my next one. Because that
Oh,
is
yeah.
also like again, you've got these songs that can transport you to a place, but then if the songs can stand on their own, it also helps kind of break out of that mold of having to hear "Don't You Forget About Me" 800 times. They won't even they didn't even write that. They
Yeah.
hate that song.
That was
Now they play it
inscribed.
because they need money, but they play it at shows now. But
Money does kind of
So,
take a motivator usually.
Francie, are you familiar with the works of Sidney Lumet?
No, I don't think so actually.
Like 12 Angry Men?
Oh, I know that movie. You're talking about
Okay,
the original
okay.
one, right?
Yeah, the original. So, 12 Angry Men versus the cast of The Breakfast Club. We're going to have Francie versus Emily. Let's go.
Wait, am I defending the
What?
Breakfast Club?
Understood. And
Yeah, The Breakfast Club versus 12 Angry Men in
Like
a fight.
I'm like, which one is a better movie or which one has a better soundtrack?
No.
No,
Or
no,
you're actually
they're
talking about the
fighting each
physical
other.
people.
This
Like,
is Mortal Kombat.
Okay, hold on. I mean, we got to give me we got to give me a leg to stand on here. So here's my counter offer. We'll keep it in the 80s. It'll be a soundtrack and not an original film score. It's a movie that has no original music. I'll do Amadeus versus Breakfast Club.
okay, that's not
Okay.
fair.
But
No, I think
When-
Now you know how I feel.
I think he's specifically
Who
asking
wouldn't
about
fight?
12 angry old men fighting a bunch of teenagers that are hanging out in a library. Am I correct?
Oh,
Yeah.
is that what we're talking about?
yep.
Then I win.
think so.
Like, I win.
Yeah, the youth wins every
We
time.
found someone who can finally decode ages.
Old-
Emily, can you come on every week and help us understand?
I speak this language. I know it well.
Old man strength.
We've given up and
Versus-
resorted
Oh,
to
Southland,
we've resorted to throwing up random images when we don't know what to
Yes,
do.
Titanic. I will die on that hill.
Just text me.
That's what
Hey, he said this.
Of course.
Oh yeah, no, but youth wins. Like Francie said. Like seriously, Molly Ringwald with those kicks, like those shoes.
Well, and Judd Nelson was like looking for an excuse to kick someone's ass,
Yeah. Those.
And we know
those
he doesn't
12
like
angry
old
men are
people.
going down.
especially old men. He doesn't hate his old man. He doesn't like his
There's
old
at
man. He
least
doesn't
10
like the
people.
principal. Like
There's at least 10 people in 12 Angry Men who are willing
We
to
have not,
commit a
we're
hate crime.
talking 80 soundtracks, and we have not mentioned.
Well,
Yeah, they're willing to commit a hate crime, but all of these kids are like white kids from Illinois. Like, what's gonna
Oh,
happen?
We still have
Like
not
they're-
mentioned training montages.
that's the
for the
twist.
greatest
They're
soundtrack.
white. It's good.
Thank you. There is no training montage in 12 Angry Men. Is that what you were saying, Dee?
With the Rocky Four song "Hearts on Fire," just
Hearts on
add that to it. That's a whole different movie.
I know that one guy tore up the picture real good.
Anyways, getting back on topic, speaking of the Breakfast Club, which obviously everyone
One
kind
topic.
of says, listen, AJ, I'm going to get us back on track because I'm here tonight and we are staying on the track.
Yeah. Back
The
to 9/11.
soundtrack.
But getting on the soundtrack, pun intended. I drink and I know things. You sure do, Juice. Juice, don't you dare distract
I
me.
do one of those. I do one of those two things.
See, I think you do both of them very well. Don't underestimate yourself. Two.
Steve Perry.
So, speaking of John Hughes, we talked earlier about Tim Burton with Elfman. I think, obviously, even though the composers should get most of the credit, I do think, obviously, that's kind of a big thing that He Who Must Not Be Named, for instance, with Hans Zimmer. A lot of, directors do kind of find a composer and latch onto them and enjoy working with them. Who do you think is kind of, a la John Hughes, who kind of really did a lot for 80s teen coming of age movies and like pop soundtracks? Like, who do you think, they always talk about kind of Zemeckis sticking his neck out for Alan Silvestri, and that's what kind of gave us that, iconic Back to the Future score. Like, who do you think is a director that has kind of really helped kind of help a composer kind of get their big start and kind of flourish, your Tim Burton's, your Zemeckis's, stuff like that, who's really kind of helped?
I mean, Emily has an answer.
Well, I wasn't going to say necessarily a composer, but if we're going to talk about directors who use music to the utmost and expose people, thousands, millions of people to new things, Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah, that is.
Absolutely. Like the 5, 6, 7, 8s, nobody would have heard of them if he hadn't walked by some little, store and was like, what is playing on the overhead? And Mizzaloo, and like basically
Like,
anything.
every
Pulp
song
Fiction.
in Death Proof, no one had ever heard before.
Absolutely. And another soundtrack I own. Like I owned the Tarantino Connection was this amazing CD. I'm old, guys. I'm sorry, but this great album that came out. Oh, I know, I know, we're old. This amazing album that came out, and it was like it had Little Green Bag, Stuck in the Middle with You, like all of these songs, and it was from a bunch of his movies, and it's just. He's got, he brings his jukebox onto set and he says, this is what we're playing. And he does an amazing job being able to not just incorporate it into just the soundtrack aspect, but also in the scenes in the movie. Like, look at Kill Bill.
Mhm.
The parts 1 and 2, that's an incredible soundtrack / score, I guess. That's one of those ones that could be considered a hybrid, maybe.
Yeah.
Because you have a lot of songs with words, but you also have a lot of just amazing instrumentation, and so I like the music.
I feel like Tarantino is definitely in the running. Just certain directors that I guess not even necessarily. Yep, there you go.
Immediately the song went in my head.
Yep.
Help
Mhm.
with composers, but just certain people. Like I said, John Hughes. Obviously, it was more pop acts and stuff, but I would even say, again, going back to Guardians there for a minute, like stuff like that awesome mix volume 1, like different directors who I think really incorporate music well into film, or really have a good working relationship with certain composers and kind of are like, do your thing, or I really want this kind of sound. Again, like certain things that John Williams himself is, been made so famous for is because of the directors he's worked with, because George Lucas was like, hey man, I'm looking for like this and this, and my friend Steve said you'd be like good at that, and he's like, yeah, let me like whip something up for you. Basically Steven Spielberg being like, hey, I'm working on this movie about a shark, what can you do for me? And John Williams was like, hear me out, it's gonna be a little crazy, but it's gonna be like 2 notes. And he's like, and we're going to do it from the perspective of the shark. And Spielberg was like, okay, like if you say so. And then he's like, yeah, love it. Let's do it.
Most iconic soundtrack of all time.
Yeah.
Storyline of all time.
So
It's up there.
People like, I just love hearing stories of directors appreciating music and wanting to incorporate in their films, or just really, kind of helping the composer kind of go and do their thing and be able to give us things like the Jaws theme.
Well, like funny story about that actually, because like with Spielberg and Williams, they're such an iconic duo. But Spielberg actually met with Bernard Herrmann one time, and he was just because Herrmann at that point, Spielberg was really young, and Herrmann was like the veteran of film at this point. And he's like, oh, I respect your work so much. You've made so much wonderful music. And Bernard Herrmann looks him dead in the eyes, and he's like, well, then how come you're always working with Johnny Williams, huh? How come you don't work with me? And it was just so mad at him. But
he was like, well, but like he's done a lot of good stuff for me, man. So I can't, can't punch him.
He's John fucking Williams.
I also want to be
to answer your
cool enough
question,
to call him Johnny Williams, because like all the people that like are close with him call him that, and I'm like, man, I wish I was cool enough to be like, what's up, Johnny?
Well, that's like with like in Martin Scorsese always calls Robert De Niro Bobby or Bob or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And you're like,
and it's like, that's so weird. Like you're so cool with him that you can like call him by his nickname to be tight with someone. What was you like got excited that you had something? Oh God, I don't even want to know what it is.
In the 90s, there was a movie that was largely responsible for revitalizing swing music.
Oh fucking hell! I'm out of here.
Was it basketball?
Swingers?
Was it Swingers?
Go, Daddy, go. Go, Daddy, go.
Listen, this is another
Now, was that movie in response to what music was doing at the time? I really don't know, but
It
that's
was
a legitimate question.
It
Or
was
was it
happening
the
in
opposite?
California, but it blew up like around the country because of it.
Oh, okay.
So yes, it's a little of column A, a little of column B. It took something that was
I
localized.
will
and just,
give you I will never ever compliment Swingers ever in my life.
One of the greatest movies of all time.
But I will
Gretzky's head
give
blood
you,
in the video
I will
game.
give you this one thing that yes, it did with the culturally have an impact on swing. Yeah, I get what you're saying here.
Gretzky's head bled.
I'm not happy about it, but I will give you credit.
You're so money and you don't even know it.
Well, actually, like one thing that kind of comes to mind is Frank Oz taking a chance on Alan Menken and Howard Ashman for Little Shop of Horrors,
Mhm.
because like they'd done plenty of stage work, but they were kind of untested in terms of film, and it's because of Little Shop of Horrors that they went on to do like be part of the
Little
whole Disney
Mermaid.
thing. Yeah, Little
That-
Mermaid, Beauty and
That
the
Howard
Beast.
documentary is a must
Yeah,
watch.
that is very good.
That was really good. It's on Disney Plus now. And if you haven't watched it, it's just called Howard, I believe.
Yeah.
It's really
Yeah.
worth watching.
Yeah, the man was an absolute genius,
Genius.
and gone way before his time. But was brilliant, had a great sense of humor, worked well with the actors, and the actors would like sort of steal his performances and be like, "I'm so sorry." He's like, "No, I hoped you would."
He's like,
Great
"Oh,
guy, and of course Alan Menken, brilliant musician.
Mm.
Yeah,
I have a Alan Menken station on my like Pandora, and it's so fun to hear all the different stuff and just sing along and just be like, because it's so singable. Like, and I think
Yeah.
that's another thing that a good soundtrack does is it makes you want to sing it. Like, again, Stuck in the Middle with Juice. It's stuck in my head right now, and I just
Like
want
in
to
the
sing
middle
it, and
of
it's
juice.
great. That yeah.
Oh, you guys didn't
Juice's
see him
new
change
name.
that?
and he is in the middle right now, which I thoroughly
Mhm.
well played all around, Juice.
Well, you brought up the, Howard. It's like, look at those Disney movies from the end of the 80s to the, mid to late 90s. Almost every single one of them
Yeah,
had at
everyone's
least
favorite-
two singles
Everyone's
on the radio.
favorite Disney.
Yeah, they
Man.
charted.
Go.
Yep, they all charted. That's everyone
And
knows the most
Oscars,
iconic song from
right?
Little Mermaid is Under the Sea.
That is not true. It's part of your world.
That's not
Which
true.
was
It's
almost
Kiss the
cut
Girl.
from the movie, which you
Yeah.
all know. I'm sure I know who I'm talking to,
Yeah.
but like it was almost cut from the movie, and that's the
Yeah.
theme. That's
Yeah,
the
speaking of
what was that fancy phrase that you said, Francie? The leitmotif.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the
leitmotif.
leitmotif.
It's
It's a
carried
fancy word
throughout
for
the
a theme
film.
song.
Yeah, and if you can get that from a pop song, which is essentially, I mean, like you could hear that on the radio potentially.
Oh yeah.
It's a little like the Little Mermaid song's a little contextual, but you could
I think
probably hear
it's
that.
yeah. Actually, that's true.
But if you do get that little leitmotif and you're able to sprinkle that through your movie, and then it's in the pop song, I mean, that's just guaranteeing that your soundtrack is going to be a hit, if not the film, but at least the soundtrack. Hopefully, if the film's a hit, the soundtrack's going to be a hit too.
Well, yeah, you're right, and I mean, like sprinkling is the right word. Alan Menken he sprinkles that like do 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 do, like all throughout the movie, like when as it pertains to Ariel specifically, and it's brilliant. It's great stuff. I love it when film score composers do that, when they will take a theme and then reuse it in different situations to sort of fit what's going on.
Mhm.
And even to give a hint that something's there, like Jaws. You remember that scene on the beach when like he's like looking for the attack and like nothing happens, but then like it's the kids with the cardboard dorsal fins and everyone's freaking out. It's not the shark because you don't hear the theme song.
Right.
But in the pond, when someone sees it, then you hear it. And it's like, oh, okay, this is real now.
Which is
and-
another thing that Williams fought for because they wanted. He was like, "No, it's his theme. It's the shark theme. I will only use it if he is present, or else you won't." And yeah, it's this great storytelling thing. Is you subconsciously know, oh, it's not the shark because you don't hear the theme. You don't realize that watching the movie for the first time, like again on a conscious level. But that's just like this layer of storytelling, which I think he just.
And the
Any
great thing-
musician worth their salt understands that silence and knowing how to use silence is just as important, if not more important, than knowing when to play notes.
Absolutely. When Jaws does finally pop out of the water, guess what doesn't play?
Anything.
Like that's again, it's that you get that element of surprise because you've set it up. Your brain heard it, Your brain hurt, but you know,
You fill it in.
yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know what Spielberg
gosh.
needed a theme?
Oh dear God.
Robert Muldoon from Jurassic.
Yeah, he could have
He
used
should have had
it
his
for
own
sure.
theme.
Yes.
Because like the Raptors had a theme, but he didn't.
He did
Oh.
not. That is the most badass character.
What
Just
his
from
theme would
a-
have ended with mwah mwah.
I mean,
Wah, wah, wah.
Which
Clever
character is
girl.
this?
a theme.
Robert Muldoon from Jurassic Park.
But Robert Muldoon is the character that you're like, hey, John Williams, this is where you messed up. I mean, technically,
He didn't mess up, but
Is
it would have been
that-
great.
You're
Newman?
Missed
open-
opportunity. Missed
there is
opportunity.
Luke's
Yeah.
theme, but like, no one really thinks of that as Luke.
Is that who is that? Newman?
No, that's Nedry. But Nedry also deserves a theme.
Go back and watch our
No one
review.
deserves a theme.
Oh yeah, that's right. It's archived.
Yeah.
Okay. That's where
You-
you fall on that
You- Can I change my answer from earlier?
one. On what-
Because I'm an idiot today. Apparently, I've been doing a lot of shifts at work. No, my favorite film composer, John Carpenter. I am
That's
an
a good one.
asshole
That's
for not
a
mentioning this
solid-
earlier.
That's a
I
solid answer.
just
And a lot of real
wow.
simple themes that are just awesome.
Yeah, he's
You know,
very
actually-
minimalist.
Yeah.
And also, he would like do it in 5 hours,
Yeah.
which like screw that guy and his talent.
If you guys get a chance, there are some great albums out there that he calls Lost Themes 1 and 2, and they are just things that he has written with his band because he's got a band and he's awesome. He wrote them specifically for people to write movies to. He's like, if anybody wants to get inspired and to write something based on these, and I'm not kidding, like I've listened to them and I'm like, I get inspired. Like I'm not like, I'm not going to write a movie probably, but I'm like, wow, I want to now. I want to and use this theme. It's really cool. It's like I have his I've got an album of his like scores, like things that he's done, and then this Lost Themes, and they're really awesome. And they're totally rocking. If you haven't heard this stuff, it's fantastic. And he still is going on, and his heart is going on. And I tied it back to Titanic. So there you go. But yeah, John
All comes
Carpenter,
together.
just fantastic. And,
I dig it, yeah.
Oh, and like Ennio Morricone, like he did the theme for The Thing, but it sounds like a John Carpenter.
Yeah, it is one of the most memorable themes of all time. Do.
Mm-hmm.
We
is
don't
amazing.
use that. Yeah, we don't use that one for the
AJ,
bottle,
you
but-
like timed that perfectly when you
There's
came
AJ.
Yeah, I heard John Carpenter was coming up,
and you just came
and
running.
yeah,
It's like
yeah, absolutely.
That was like the bat signal for you.
pretty
John
much.
Carpenter?
I mean, John Carpenter is my favorite filmmaker of all time.
oh yeah. I think we on the wheel we put John Carpenter and Martin Scorsese. That was where our
Yep.
two wheel slices, I think.
Yeah, I know.
Ooh,
Great.
Oh
nice.
shit! No,
Yeah.
we're giving away strategy when it's
Well,
me
Again,
and Mike.
I think we were. Well, I think the whole idea was Bethany and I were going to be the team
Yeah.
against the two of
what
you.
is
So
that?
Yeah,
Because
so
I
now
decided
you know.
that we would just
I
give
guess.
our knowledge. But again, you and AJ, because as in you, Mike, and AJ, there's too much overlap. So we will see actually like what the theory is on Schmodown teams, like who would.
You're gonna get perfect scores in Kevin Smith in comedies.
Yeah, pretty much.
Actually,
I think
have
you
a
should team
question.
him and I up because obviously I can speak AJ. So
Yeah, that is
Oh,
true.
you might have found your
Yeah.
partner.
Yeah, I think we actually, and there is some good, you do have some overlap, but I feel like there would be some things you balance each other out in. And that's what you need in a good team is you need to not have like the
Yeah.
exact same film knowledge because you want your other teammates to be able to help you with other things.
So going back to soundtracks, we brought it up in the movies about music, but it's still a soundtrack too. This is Spinal Tap. I mean, that's one of the most
Yes.
Oh,
iconic
yeah.
soundtracks of all time.
There's some good stuff right there.
Of
Yeah,
all time.
Big Bottom.
Big bottom, nothing but bass.
It's amazing. Yeah, like Mike and I have a special love for that song in particular for obvious reasons.
because you got big butts.
No, it's because we're both bassists.
Oh, Oh, so wait,
like
I'm not allowed?
Season better though.
Oh, I didn't know you liked that song.
Yeah.
Also,
Okay, well, the three of us.
Well, she only liked it when her husband and I weren't butchering it.
That's fair.
50% of
true.
this stream loves that song.
To be
Juice
fair,
not available
like
for
3 of us are
comment.
bassists, so
Yeah.
of course we should play it.
So,
That is true. He plays the guitar, which is the most important.
I can probably play bass if you asked me to.
I'm certain that I couldn't. So
I mean,
that's where I'm at with my music ability.
another candidate for a movie that I don't like with a great soundtrack,
Mhm.
fucking Rockstar with Mark Wahlberg.
yeah, the movie
I never saw it.
Yet to see it.
does have some good songs.
That's
Um,
Well,
my
I'm not gonna say it's not
song-
good. That's something I could consider a guilty pleasure because I could put that on and watch the whole thing and not like cringe through it. But it's not a great movie. You know, like in a minute, it's not a great movie.
So at the end of the movie, Mark Wahlberg's character played the song called "Colorful."
Mhm.
That was my go-to closing song for any open mic from like 19 to 24, and it's a Verve Pipe song.
Ah,
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. That's
that's a
deep.
nice little tribute.
It's like the other Verve Pipe song.
Yeah, because people only know like the one pretty much.
Yeah. Also, I know this because the lead singer of the Verve Pipe was doing karaoke at a bar that I was at one time, and he definitely sang "Freshman."
Well, yeah, that is the big hit.
He definitely sang his own song in karaoke, but he also did Finch's "What It Is to Burn."
I
For the emo
respect
kids
that
out
he knows what the people want and was like, here, listen, I know y'all know me because of Freshman, so I'm gonna play it for you. I think that's totally fair.
It'd be
It's-
great if everybody
Get the
was
fresh, man.
tweeting him later and was like, hey, this guy at this bar was just totally rocking your song, man. Like, they just didn't know who he was. Like,
it's me.
He's like, oh, that was me actually. Like, 'cause how many people I would, if the Verve Pipe was playing in front of me, I would not know.
No,
that it was-
but here's the thing: it was just some
Sure.
dude. It was just some dude, and you're like, that's actually the dude.
You're like, could be the dude. You're like, wait a minute, he sounds a lot. You're like, either he's doing a really good impression, or it is
Yeah.
just him. It's
He
hard.
came
to
off
tell.
stage and was like, "Hey, that was really good." It's like, "Thanks, that's actually my song." I was like, "What's
Yeah,
your
your vocals,
name?"
they really tied the
And-
song together.
And then I look up his name as he's talking to me, and it's actually Jason Van Der Ark.
wow.
There you go.
And then, oh, cool, man.
You're like,
Also,
good for you.
the lead
You're
singer of
one
Puddle
song
Mud
for
does
everyone
that
now.
shit all the time.
All right. Well, everyone, before we wrap up an episode about scores and soundtracks, we mentioned about at the top. So I feel like the appropriate question to ask before we leave here today is, what is your favorite? And I know this is like picking a favorite child, but what is your favorite John Williams score? Like, what is your favorite John Williams movie?
Oh, so
As far as-
specifically John Williams.
Yes, specifically
Oh.
John Williams. What is your favorite piece
I'm gonna pull it
of
up.
music?
AJ, was there a stream? Did we get all the Streamlabs? I don't know.
I'm pretty sure we got all the Streamlabs. I'm gonna double check
Not
real quick.
completely.
We have 2920 in Streamlabs last I checked. So 2920 in Streamlabs last I checked, and that's gonna be matched by myself. So we did 5840 in Streamlabs in donations to charity tonight. And we're doing that up to the next $100 in donations to the channel. So John Williams favorite scores. We're gonna start with Mike, and then we're gonna go across the board.
For like overall favorite Williams,
Yeah.
you know, I'm gonna say it seems so freaking obvious, but Vader's theme.
I meant like movie.
So
I don't
Empire
need
Strikes
you, yeah,
Back,
I don't
yeah.
need you to get that specific.
Empire Strikes
I
Back.
see that we have like Hedwig's theme in the comments, and then you're like Vader's theme, and I was like, y'all, we don't need to get that specific. I just want like the movie.
Yeah, Empire Strikes Back.
Although, also it's not technically called Vader's theme.
The Imperial March, yes.
But you know, whatever. I'm not gonna well actually you, even though I did well actually you, but
In D minor.
but Yeah, so
It's in
Empire.
C minor, I think, actually.
Oh,
Oh.
Mr. Perfect Pitch.
I don't know. I have no idea. It's probably in like F minor.
That's definitely one of my favorite John
I can
Williams.
find out real quick. Just
well.
going over there.
So there you go. So my next then, I guess technically, AJ said we're going around so me and then Juice. Okay, yeah. So I'm wearing it today, and that is of course E.T. My favorite movie and my favorite John Williams score of all time. Obviously, it's like I said, it's like picking a favorite child. There are so many good ones. Everything he's ever done for Star Wars is iconic. Jaws.
Even Attack of the
obviously.
Clones is a fucking awesome soundtrack.
Jurassic Park.
It is.
Harry Potter. I also love the story behind that score, but anyways, that's for another day. But yeah, E.T., I know it might not necessarily be the most iconic one of all of them, even though it is definitely the pantheon of iconicness.
It's up there.
But I just think it is the most beautiful work he has ever done, and it just talk about a soundtrack that just matches the movie. It just encapsulates the wonder of childhood and the fear and just everything about it. I put it on, I cry. When I attempted to run during lockdown, which, I'm not a runner, I would put on that soundtrack. It would motivate me. So E.T. 100%.
Well, also, there is actually a cut out there you can probably find on YouTube of that very ending scene when he's going on the spaceship with no music, and it's ridiculous. But with the music, it is one of the greatest scenes in movie history.
I haven't seen that, but I would 100% that would be super, super awkward.
It's awkward as fuck.
I'm bringing the
I really want to
awkward
watch it now. I'm not gonna lie. Juice, you're up to bat. What's your favorite
So-
John Williams score?
Favorite, I mean, obviously, the Star Wars. But if I had to pick a quick favorite for Star Wars before I get to my film, I'd go with the Force theme. The do-do-do-do. Yeah, whatever. That's probably the best, my favorite. But a quick shout out to the Emperor's theme, because that does not get enough credit. And it was my most underwatched guitar video of all time. Was my Emperor's theme.
I'm gonna go give it some love.
And it was the most work I put into a video at that point.
I watched
They
that
got
one.
80 views, and I was but
I'm gonna
thank
go
you.
watch.
But anyways, I'm gonna go with Home Alone.
Specifically
Home
Home Alone 2.
And it's a soundtrack that a score that everyone remembers. When you think of, oh yeah, and you can remember
Yeah.
beat for beat.
Every elementary school choir performed that song.
Yeah, and Home Alone 2, he did John Williams specifically did Carol the Bells, but it was this whole crazy way. If you're a crazy sweaty Christmas music fanatic like me, you recognize how John Williams changed the diametrics of how we see Christmas music. Maybe I'm nuts.
Led
but
directly
I-
into
and I
Trans-Siberian
probably am,
Orchestra.
And
Right,
it
exactly.
would have no
Exactly.
Harry Potter if it wasn't, or at least not the score for Harry Potter.
And Chris Columbus did Harry Potter. And Chris Columbus did, Chris Columbus did Home Alone and then did Harry Potter. So right,
Written by John Hughes,
Exactly.
Breakfast Club, tie back.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ah.
exactly.
Connected.
that was a solid picture. That's a good
Yeah.
underrated one that I
It
feel
was
like a lot of
it
people
was
don't
it
know,
was
but
between that and 1941. But I went Home Alone.
that's another good kind of forgotten one occasionally.
Right.
Good pick.
Juice, if you're not familiar already, but since you're such a big Christmas music person, I gotta recommend something to you real quick. Celtic Woman Christmas.
I'm all for that.
It's so good. It's so good. Celtic Woman Christmas. It is so good. It's wonderful, wonderful music.
Okay, I cannot wait. Okay, I feel like no. Okay, so I've watched a little bit. My mom. This is the second time she's been mentioned. My mom watched this.
Episode tonight.
I just Googled Celtic Woman, and I immediately got brought back to my mom watching this. But I haven't watched it since I was a little kid, so I will revisit this next November when I'm getting into the Christmas spirit. Absolutely. I'll make a
Alright,
little
so-
note.
Christmas spirit is year round. You know, do what you got to do.
Emily, what you got?
Oh, me?
Yes, huh?
Oh, okay. I can be me.
good.
I will go with Jurassic Park because that is one of my favorite movies of all time. There are so many great themes in it. It depends. I had both as
Except
my
for Muldoon
ringtones at one. That's true. It is missing that, but maybe we'll get a redo. Who knows? But
Muldoon cut.
I have used many a ringtone from that film between the quotes, and I mean, Francie knows how much I love that movie. We've had a very long discussion about it, but yeah, absolutely, I would say Jurassic Park,
It is
definitely.
Great choice.
such a good film.
And then
It's over Francie. He didn't give his answer.
Man, I thought I was gonna be choosing the more obscure one. Well, not obscure, but probably not one that would jump to mind. I think Juice took the cake on that one.
Yeah.
With a great pick, by the way. I'm going with Hook.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
that is one that
I got a hook. I got a hook
good
story.
in that people often overlook.
Yeah, I mean, like the movie itself gets a lot of crap that it doesn't deserve. Quite frankly, I think it's a great movie, but the music in particular is just phenomenal. It's so good. You got so many different kinds of themes, and you have like melodies that sort of wrap around with each other. Like the ending note to one melody will be the beginning note to another. And like the pirates theme, so good, and like that scene when like Rufio draws the line in the sand, and he's like, whoever says this ain't Peter Pan, cross the line, and he's just there all by himself, except for that one little lost boy. And the music that plays when he's just like sort of like trying to get the wrinkles out of his face, it kills me every time. Like there's so much emotion in it, and it just gets me. Like out of all of John Williams' film scores, I feel that one the most.
And that Blues Traveler song just really makes it more.
Well, it brings you back, right?
Every time. Seriously, dude, we need to review that soon because it is driving me nuts.
Okay.
First
the fixation.
I think I
Take us
might have the
home.
most obscure one.
Oh,
Actually.
I'm excited now.
And that is 2000's The Patriot.
Ooh, okay.
That is obscure.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
I mean,
The way
Williams
they used
obviously.
the
It's not obvious.
actual
Yeah.
music from the score blended into, in moments, the Civil War or Revolutionary War musicians on the field, and how that actually like different in volume, and the sound design in that movie is beautiful. Beautiful. The scores themselves they're great. They're on the John Williams level, but the mixing of those two is something insane. The design is just next level. That's what I got. It's just so good.
I like that we ended with a good
So
couple of obscure.
as
Well, again, these aren't like obscure movies, but like obscure John Williams picks when
Lesser
thinking
extent.
of
There-
Yeah,
there's certain
but
ones.
not like things that immediately jump to mind. when you
Yeah.
think of John
Yeah.
Williams.
Right,
I'm not gonna
yeah.
start humming, something
so
like a Star Wars or like Hedwig's theme or whatever.
so I don't have a guitar
So good.
right here. I could normally grasp. It might need to go through a little work at the shop.
Oh,
Hopefully, it's going to be okay. Send your thoughts and prayers to that guitar.
yes. I am
Um,
sending my thoughts and prayers to the guitar.
However, I wanted to last mention as we wrap up here one movie I didn't get to bring up, and that's Hot Rod. Hot Rod. Stacy Q was brought up. Stacy Q involved this song here of Two of Hearts.
Oh, no,
It's been an
the
I
anthem.
can see the music.
Mhm.
The Never
Anthem,
sequence.
Two of Hearts. Whenever I'm with my family and we're playing cards and we're like, Two of Hearts, and then somebody throws a Two of Hearts and wins the game or loses the game. But
Footloose
then you got a
sequence.
classic song. You have John Fairham's You're the Voice. Is that not gifting for other people?
It's not
No.
gifting.
It is
no.
not.
Alright, whatever.
It's frozen,
Oh,
but
that's
I know
nice
what
try.
it is.
This
It's like a-
was supposed to be a GIF. This was supposed to be a GIF. I'm over the GIFs. I'm back to the still images.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Jeff.
But John Fairhams, you're the voice. Fantastic song. Hot Rod, amazing soundtrack. That's all I gotta say.
I would just like to thank everyone for talking scores and soundtracks tonight. I'm sure we barely, here in 90 minutes, barely like scratch the surface, and I'm sure y'all will be back on to discuss it again when I win the Schmoedown Fantasy League this year. But before we wrap up, I did just want to go ahead and let Emily and Francie plug their stuff, plug their show, let the people of the internet know where they can find y'all.
You want to take this one, Em?
No.
Okay.
Nope.
I love that.
No.
All right. So Emily and I, we did not stream today because Emily had to work late, and we knew that we were going to be doing this. And 2 streams in one day is just a bit too much for us right now. But normally we do every
I'm
Tuesday.
old.
every Tuesday, 6 p.m. New York time, and we spotlight a different movie every week. It's kind of like this, but it was just the two of us, and we interact with Chad and sort of talk about movies and what we like about them. And it's a celebration of film. You know, it's not a place where we're trying to be too critical or negative. It's a place where, like, hey, these are wonderful movies, and if you haven't seen these movies, check them out, and here's why. And or maybe if you've seen this but you don't know how you feel about it, listen to what we have to say. You may get a new perspective on it. It's a celebration of film because movies are just wonderful art form that needs to be celebrated and should be celebrated and not criticized by angry armchair people. Sometimes if they're really funny. And that's on. We stream on Twitch under my channel. It's also my gaming channel, World's Best Pants. All one word. Pants ends with a Z, and so Twitch TV, twitch.tv/World's Best Pants. Every Tuesday, 6 p.m. It's a show called Set the Scene, where we do exactly what I just discussed.
Do you
Yep.
see?
Someone said that they set the scene.
Yeah, we set the scene every time, and we take turns figuring out who sets the scene. Em picks movies, and when she picks, she'll set the scene. And the ones I pick, I'll set the scene.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
And we just had March of the Pants for Francie's birthday, which and I think our next one is going to be Hook next week. Actually, we're
Yes.
about Hook,
That's well played.
Followed by
So-
The Shadow.
That's a good
Bangarang.
promo.
followed by the Shadows. So
Bangarang, Rufio.
Rufio.
Run home, Jack.
All right.
Anyways, y'all, John Williams is amazing.
But there's
I
only
wish
one way
everyone
we can
a
end
good
this.
night.
There's only one way we can end this.
if you start singing "Lean on Me," I swear.
Is it Mortal Kombat again?
Lean on me.
Eurovision Song Contest.
No. AJ end the stream. Just end the stream. Oh man, Jake Yarkoveta is here.
That's the time to end the stream. Jake, tell people where they can find you.
Wait, what?
Have a
Fuck
good
you,
night,
AJ.
everyone.